And we are live, and look at the chat go. Welcome, everybody. I see Southern Tier, Texas Raider. We got JS Genesis Designs. Welcome, everybody. As you can see, which I have to remember because StreamYard is backwards. So there we go. I have a special guest with me, Scorpion from Scorpion Metals. So, how are you today, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I am good, good. And man, we have gone back and forth. I thought I had a crazy schedule until I started talking to you, and I'm like, no, you went hands down.
I definitely stay busy.
Yes, yeah. I mean, we have tried what for almost 2 months trying to get this together.
Yeah, yeah. I've got full time job, and then I've got my business that I open making stuff for people, stuff like that. So between the two, I get up and I basically work until I go back to sleep.
You're definitely a busy man. So, real quick before we jump into everything, one, we have a subscriber, Chris, who has a birthday today. So, happy birthday, Chris! You know who you are. Secondly, this is a live stream, so I will be doing a series of questions with Scorpion Metals. If you guys have questions, throw them in the comment section. We'll jump back and forth and try and answer them. Make sure I will go after the live stream and post as many places that you can go find and follow and subscribe and everything. But with that, will you tell us all the fun things that you do and provide?
Uh, sure. So I started YouTube. Um, we call it the beer flu when that happened, um, and that's from the metals. The gold, and silver, and coin side of stuff. I got into that one day, and I think it was Yankee Stacking I ran across, and I was like, he's talking a lot of sense. So I fired up my own YouTube channel. It's called Silver Scorpion, and I've been running that one ever since. Um, no major amount of subscribers or nothing like that. I think it's like 2,000 and something, and just talking about silver, gold, copper, how to stack, how to find what's the cheapest, what's your dates for your 50-cent pieces to be 90% silver, what are the 40% ones, what are your other coins that are by date they were made 90% silver, because that's just free money. If you run across it in your pocket change during the day, you need to know to put that in the other pocket because you don't want to spend that one. Um, and I got into scrapping because I live on a farm. I've got cows. I've had turkeys, pigs, all that stuff too. Um, and got to helping Dad clean a bunch of stuff up, and got to learning about scrapping and got into that stuff. So I got a scrapping Scorpion channel where I just show how you can make money on the side. You can take stuff apart while you're watching TV, or me, it's how I unwind. I love sitting down, seeing what makes what work, especially with like electronics and stuff, because I don't really understand them. Um, even though I went to school for them for 2 years. Um, what parts are important, which ones aren't, which ones you can make how much on, that kind of thing. And then I fired up originally Scorpion Metals was going to be the channel that I was going to pour metal on because I was doing that on my Silver Scorpion channel before. And I said, well, I'll separate it out because, there's too many people that don't want to watch all this stuff in the same channel, so I made a different channel for it, and then I ended up opening my business, and that's what that channel's become. So I laser engrave, I 3D print, um, I make challenge coins for people. I can't even tell you everything that I do. It just I do a bunch of everything. I actually just picked up a CNC machine like a month and a half, 2 months ago, to start trying to do wooden plaques and pouring metals to put in them and stuff like that. And I've been sitting here all day watching videos on it and how it works and how to set it up. And, um, I enjoy learning stuff that I can put my hands on. And that seems to be my biggest hobby. So if you need something done or want something done, let me know and I'll tell you if I can do it or not. And, ran across a guy that makes knives the other day on Instagram, and he's I'm we're working first of the month. We probably are going to start doing some stuff together. He's going to make the knives and send them to me, and I'll laser engrave them for people, maybe some daggers, because I've always thought it'd be cool to have like your family crest on the wall with some daggers, and maybe the family names on the blades or something like that, you know. But I'm into customizing and making that stuff for anything. I appreciate that. You might be hearing from me.
Oh yes,
um,
JS Genesis is a great dude. So
yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, that's about it. I pour in cast metals for people. If somebody says I want a 2 ounce silver, 3/9 fine silver bunny rabbit for my daughter, I'm like, I got you. I can make it. You know.
well, and that brings me to your thing. So you said that you do all this stuff, and maybe you can help me because I have this here, and I maybe you can tell me and everybody what is this?
So that is a dragon egg. It's 3D printed off of the Creality, I believe, and that coin in there would be one of the coins that we bought to put in there. That's not one we made. That's one we bought and put in.
Make sure I can give that its due. Oh, look at that! Look at the
Yeah.
dragon.
So we come up with different names and games and stuff to do for people so people can have fun and try to win something, you know, things like that. But yeah, we just enjoy creating stuff.
Well, that leads me into one because now I get to ask my own questions. So how did you come up with the name?
Well, so Scorpion started all of it because of my birthday. I'm a Scorpio. Not that I follow that stuff. I like to think I'm in control of everything, even though we know we're not really. um, but that's kind of how I come up with the original channel, and then everything just kind of stemmed from there. So if you go on the internet and type in Scorpion, it I show up pretty much. You know, I'm not hard to find. Either one of my YouTube, Instagram, um, TikTok, and I'm running Facebook now too.
Hmm.
So, which Facebook is a lot of crossover between all three channels.
Which it looks like you've got all sorts of ones. So we got Party, and then we got Essential Tom. My goodness, that is beautiful. I completely agree. And then Offgrid Master is my moderator that cannot. Every week I get precious metals, please, please. So we will get into that.
I can I can help with precious metals. I cannot help with all of the error dates on coins that were made though. My mind won't absorb it.
So, how long have you really been doing all the fun things that you've been doing right now?
Everything that I'm doing right now about a year. I started pouring metal about 4 years ago.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
just been a learning curve and slowly picking up something new. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So we'll get what we need for that and try that. And
I like it. I like it. So, you would say that with the being able to pour and laser engrave and all that, so you really kind of provide like a specialty more than like a traditional, say, coin shop or whatnot.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, I haven't had anybody order anything in gold yet, but I've made a few silver coins for people. Uh, and I've got a refiner I order the coins from, so they're guaranteed to be 3/9 fine silver. They've already got the coin ring on them, so I just drop, well, what most people think, I just drop it in a laser and it produces itself and that kind of thing. But there's a whole lot of setup. So, you know, if people are ordering like 50 of something or 300 of something, then I don't have to do all that setup each time. So I can lower that price a little bit, you know, depending upon the quantity that they want. Um, and Can't remember his name. I'm really bad with names. Anyway, there's a guy that does all kinds of copper stuff. You see him all over YouTube, well, all over Instagram and on YouTube sometimes. But me and him have kind of built a little bit of a relationship, and there's been some talk that he may be using me some for some of his smaller quantities because he stamps all his coins, and to get a die, it's like $500 or $600. So if they only want 50 coins made, it's not worth him buying the die because he's not making any money.
Right.
Where I can knock them out with a laser for him.
Which you said you 3D printed this, and you went on and what was that, like a 6, 8, 10 hour video watching this?
Yeah, so that's actually Jericho. He's one of the guys that works with me, and actually, all it's actually three of us. We're all disabled and we're all YouTubers. That's how we found each other. So he come from, I think, Montana. I'm not sure. That's right. Recycling come from Florida, and then we all live in Virginia.
Yeah, and that's mine. Is like everybody's different, but watching the 3D printer and the laser, I'm like, I'm glued to that, and I'm sitting here watching and watching and watching, and the next thing I go, it's been an hour. That
Yeah,
stuff,
these
it's
the more
fascinating.
technical stuff. The technical stuff Jericho tends to do, and I do more of the hands-on stuff because that's just how I work. And he's got the brain power for the other stuff that I can't work a computer to save my life.
Well, here we go. So here's a question: is there anything to people scrapping cell phones for metals?
A lot of gold in them. And there's a lot of videos up about it. But for you to take it, depending on what you want to do, because there's different avenues. So I use Board Sort for a lot of stuff, and they've got three different categories for cell phones according to the age of the phone. You know, whether it's all touch screen or um, the battery can still come out or not. If it's the old flip phones with the buttons, those are worth more. And normally I just pack them in a box, and I take the SIM cards and the memory cards out. SIM cards have a lot of gold just by themselves. Um, and then I ship them up to Board Sort, and they cut me a check and mail it back to me. So you've got that avenue, and that's normally the fastest and the easiest. But you can also strip them down, take them apart. Some people like to refine the gold and other precious metals that are in them themselves. And cell phones are coated on the inside with a bunch of gold.
Hmm. Did not know that. There's one. Let's see. Oh, look at that. Heart-shaped coins for Valentine's Day. That'd be a
I
fun
can do it.
idea. That would be a fun idea. Which, let's see, what else do we got? So, out of all the things that you currently provide, would you have something that is your favorite thing to do?
Um, no, I can't say any of it's really my favorite. I think what I enjoy doing is figuring out how to create what somebody wants.
Ooh,
Um, so when they call me with the idea, like there's a gentleman is a YouTuber out in California. He called me with an idea, and of course his idea changed because the idea was so big. It took so long to create. It kept changing over time. But I ended up 3D printing him a whole, and this is resin printer. But I 3D printed him a whole city. Cut the center out of the city. 3D printed a T2 arm that slid down into the center of it, and I had to remake the hand on the T2 arm to hold a 10-ounce silver bar that he mailed me, had me melt and make it with skulls coming out of it when I melted it to make skulls coming out of it. And then I laser engraved both sides and toned the bar for him and sent it all back.
wow. Wow, that's incredible.
So just the 3D printing side of that was about 9 days straight.
Yeah. Wow. Wow, that is a lot. So,
But that's
that goes
that's that's
into,
fun.
well,
That's
and I
fun
can
to me
imagine,
figuring that out.
and I don't even know what goes into something like that on the behind of trying to be able to take an idea from somebody else. It's not even in your head. You have to get that idea, envision it for yourself, somehow get it programmed so that way the machine knows what to do. And I mean, you literally are taking somebody's dream and putting it into reality.
Yeah, and that's I'm all about helping people. So that's kind of what this is about, is helping people. So that's also why I've got a series of solar that's up. I think the third video posted at 10 tonight on Facebook, and it's like the second video on YouTube or something like that. They're like a day behind each other. And why I started learning how to mine Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies because they're expensive and I don't want to pay for them. So, if you can buy a little computer or whatever to do it for you, then why not? And then how much money are you actually making? So stuff like that. And I like to help people with anything I can. And that's really what I'm about, what I've always been about. Even military and EMS and everything else that I've done in my life. So um, kind of my way of continuing on and continuing to do this stuff and that kind of thing.
That's awesome. It's awesome. Well, if we're going to go that route, then let me ask you this: since we just went through the new year, what's some things that you're trying to do for this year? Because I saw a little hint that you got something on Facebook that you got in the mail. But what's kind of like some projects, goals, things like that?
So right now, I'm kind of basing stuff on trying to figure out solar. I'm trying to buy like kind of like a package, show people where they can get it from, get it the cheapest, how to offset your power in your house to save you money. Um, no, you don't have to spend $80,000 with a 20-year loan to do it. How to do it slowly and cheaper, and that kind of thing. um, and the crypto stuff, trying to show people that and how to do that. Projects, that little reel, it's an unspoken project right now. That was prototype bars I actually did them last night. They went out in the mail to him today. So he's going to check them over. If he likes them, he's going to send me 50 more to laser engrave. So I just showed the side so you couldn't see who it belonged to or nothing. But he actually hand poured those himself, and he sells them, in live streams and stuff like that. He's a good fella that I've known for quite a few years. But just doing stuff like that for people, some people at Poor Metals have us doing um, COAs for them. So we do aluminum business cards, but we can also make them as a COA. So it's just a certificate of authenticity for the metal that they poured, and they can write the weight in with a Sharpie, and that kind of what the name of it is. Precious Metal Bowls is one of them we're doing. There's another guy I'm working on, but he hasn't released it yet, so I can't say about that yet. Probably my biggest challenge is remembering what I can release and what I can't release.
Yeah.
But we can stamp instead of stamping. If you pour your own metal, it takes a whole lot of time to pour it, but it also takes a lot of time to stamp each individual weight and whatever you want it to say and that kind of thing. And I can set it all up in the laser and do it fast. The only thing I have to change from one to the other would be the weight. So, you know, um, some people I'm starting to see they like send it, they want to mail it to me for me to do that for them, and then I can mail it back to them. And
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We will wait and see. Let me throw this one up here because that is a good point from Offgrid Master. So most people don't read the fine print on those solar ads on social media. Super expensive at first. Second, the grid goes down. You don't have the power because they don't supply the batteries. Very good point. We will stay on and see if he comes right back. Let's see. 3D print vertical wind turbines. Oh, looks like he is back. And add the page. I think we did it. No, did we not do it? There we go. Are we good? You hear me?
we'll
Maybe.
try it again. My internet sucks.
Well, there's a question if you can read that one. 3D print vertical wind turbines.
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting one. And then I
I don't
saw
know if you
another
can hear
one.
me.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
A little bit.
Put this one up. Best place to source batteries for backup and inverters. Maybe, maybe not. Let me check.
Yeah, I
My
can hear you.
good now?
Um,
It would not be anything if we did not have technical difficulties. Technical difficulties as it goes. So we will wait. I'm sure he will be right back. I'm going to do a little bit of show and tell. I planned on showing him this a little bit later, but while we wait for him to rejoin, I did pick up some new precious metals. And so I'm going to showcase some of them for you guys. And so I got my first one here, and hopefully there won't be too much of a shine. There we go. There's my Liberty, and on the back, we will show the Don't Tread on Me 1 ounce silver. So one of the ones I got, and we'll see if one of you guys, let's see. So this one here, I think is kind of a fun design on the front. And let's see if you guys like the back. See if I can hold it still. You guys see that? A little sheep that says, "Wake up." Once I saw that, I had to get that one. So those are two of the things that go back into my collection. That's about how my internet is too. I'm lucky. Yeah. When I finally get a precious metals video to watch, I know it's one of those ones. It's there's always technical difficulties, so we will give him time. For most of you, you guys did see my titanium coin, which I kept here because I wanted to ask him about that. I did get my 1 ounce. Let's see. There's my 1 ounce, kind of like ingot poured. Got that one. Let's see. Where may I ask? Are you finding these and copper? Um, the first copper that I bought, my 1 pound bar, I actually bought at a coin shop in Southern Ohio. My second 1 pound, I actually bought off of eBay. Um, these came from a coin shop. This actually came off of eBay. I do have my silver bullets. They're back there in the safe. I did pick this up. I was going to ask him about this one, but as you can see, this is an entire tube, and it is filled with nothing but 1920s and 1930s. It'll focus. Those are, there we go, Buffalo nickel. So I like to collect some of the odd stuff at certain times. I'm not sure if there's anybody else on the planet has an entire stack of Buffalo nickels, but I thought it was neat. Plus, probably about half of them or so are like 1920s, so these are 100-year-old nickels. So I picked them up. And then the last thing I will show you is going to be, oh, there we go. That is a, man, it's not going to show it, is it? That is a silver back, so kind of like the gold back. Let me put that right there so you guys can see the design on all that. So let me see if I can bring it back. See if I can get the, there we go. Get the light off of it. Does not do it justice. I was going to ask him about this one. So For me, on my opinion, which I am not a precious metals expert, um, gold backs are probably a much better investment, in my opinion, than silverbacks. The thing on silverbacks is they do these designs on the front, like as you see as the dragon, and they do these on a. You're probably not going to be able to see that. They do that on a run. It's not going to do it. So they only printed 100,000 of these, and that is it. That's why they make these valuable. As far as silver content, this is 1/1000th of ounce of silver. Ounce of silver right now is what, $23 or so. So 1/1000th. I mean, you're not even talking a dollar. But the design's neat. It's a limited edition. I don't have one, so I picked it up. Now it is mine. Let's see. Unfortunately, time market perfectly. When I save up a few dollars to buy a few ounces, the price drops a dollar. A few days later, I only buy silver rounds, random designs. Okay, Northern Ozark. Yes. I'm trying to think of who I was watching about that. Which, yeah, Texas. Holy Buffalo Nickels. Um, when they were talking about different precious metals and they were asking them about your time to go in. So when do I go in? If I every time I go in I buy it $20, and then tomorrow it's $19. Did I do something wrong? And really the best advice that I've heard on that one, again, not a financial expert on this, but when you're talking about things, especially silver doesn't fluctuate huge like that. You're buying it to hold and not get rich. And so if you pay $20 today and it drops to $19 next week, hold it. It's going to go up. It'll never drop to zero. Gold, it's going to go up. Your bigger things, your platinum, all that, they're going to go up. And so do you go and buy like 1 ounce coin? It is $23 an ounce or something along those lines. Somebody's going to have to make a profit unless you're just doing it off of a friend or something like that. If you go to a store, they've got to eat, they've got to pay the bills, they've got to keep the lights on, things like that. So they have to make a profit. And so you're going to pay spot, you're going to pay a premium on it. And so if you walk into it, this is $23, you're going to have to judge on your thing. Should you be paying $40 for a $23 thing? It's going to take a long time to get your money back. Should you be paying $25, $26 for something like this? Depending on what you're trying to do. Are you trying to hold it and preserve your wealth? Probably a good deal. Again, it's going to be on you to figure out where you're comfortable with and things like that. That's why I get a lot of people that ask me, why in the world did you buy titanium? One, I don't have it and I really wanted it, so I bought it. And two, there is uses for titanium. You got to think about it when it comes to titanium for medical purposes, a lot of your surgical equipment, your bones, for when they do plates and different things, the screws that they put into you. Because this never rusts, it's really hard to break. Will I ever do anything besides just hold this coin and be really proud of it? Probably not, but it's kind of like Buffalo nickels. Why in the world does anybody need a whole sleeve of Buffalo nickels besides me? So, yep, holding for property tax, paying insurance. Excellent, excellent. Do you live in a state to where they accept gold and silver as payment? Trivia. What coin was never made silver except 42 through 45? That's a good one. I do not know that one. If anybody knows the answer to that, drop that down in the chat. That would be excellent. And we will see. We will go a little bit longer and see if his internet comes back up. If it does not, I will get with him. We will reschedule and we will continue our interview maybe tomorrow or sometime this weekend or something. We'll work it out. He's a really, really busy man. It's hard. I thought that I was a busy guy until me and him started chatting. We talked about way back before Christmas And every time that he was free, I was not. Every time I was free, he was not. And it was a hard thing to link up. I was super, super excited. JS guesses pennies. It's probably a good one. I would have said no. Almost didn't pass the bill late last year. It's being reworded. Oof. I look for, there's a lot of places that are starting to take gold and silver as payments. Gold backs are starting to become a lot. Um, I've been seeing some of the signs for we now accept gold backs as payment. Let's see. Do we have you back now?
Maybe I'm connected to a cell phone because my internet at the house crashed. We'll see if
There
this
we go.
holds up. I've got a download speed of like 0.2 megabytes.
That'll be all right. It'll be all right. I was sitting here trying to go through, and then I like that Offgrid Master did a trivia, and they're like, "Hey, here's some date stuff," and I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm not good with the date coins." No on the pennies.
It's 1981 and before.
Man, look at all that. Pennies. See, I'm not good with all the different ones. Everybody comes to me when you tell them like, "Hey, I have some coins." They're like, "Hey," and they start throwing all the stuff out. And I'm like, I know what gold and silver is. That's about my knowledge.
So the only thing I track on the coins is 1981 and before on pennies is 95% copper. 1964 and before for halves, quarters, and dimes are 90% silver. 1965 to 1970, the halves are 40% silver, and then there's 3 years of the war nickels that are 35% silver, but I don't remember the dates of them.
Gotcha. Good info. Which I was doing show and tell while you were gone, and so I'm going to ask you a couple of mine and do re-show and tell. So I found these, and I'm going to hope that the camera re-picks back up on it. Let's see if you can see. Oh, there we go. So that.
Yep.
I have a whole sleeve.
Yep. There's a little numismatic value on those, but there's no silver in them. So.
Yep. I've had a few people. They're like, "You're collecting gold and silver. You know that's not." And I'm like, "Yes, but who has a whole sleeve of buffalo nickels?"
That's right. It's still good to have. It's still got added value. And I have had some people, and I don't remember the date, and you can look it up online, but they collect all change from a certain date back because it's still mainly copper. So they're collecting the copper value out of the quarters and all that stuff too before they started switching over to so much zinc and other stuff in them to try to offset the price.
Right. Which, if we're going to talk about odd, I don't know if you caught this one on one of mine, but I did pick this up, which has the Liberty, but does the thickness tell you, does that give a hint on what this is?
That's going to be a 2-ounce silver eagle, isn't it?
Titanium.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I've had a ton of people, they're like, "Why do you have titanium?" I don't know. It's precious metal, and I now own titanium.
That's right. It's something different. Yeah. I mean, you can't go wrong. I can't remember what's in catalytic converters off the top of my head.
Platinum.
That the price of, well, it depends upon which catalytic converter it is, if it's a diesel or if it's a car. But the price on that one has just tanked over the last year and a half, 2 years, because they're trying to push electric so much. I still think it would probably be a buying opportunity more than anything, though, because it's still a precious metal and it's pretty hard to come by. So, I don't have any, but I would think it's still a buying opportunity if you can afford to pick some up. But it's still like $4,000 or $5,000 an ounce, something like that.
Oh yeah. Which, my next thing that I got in the mail today was my crudely poured little kind of like ingot there, 1 ounce little bar. And then maybe you might like this one. Here is my 1 ounce. Let's see if the camera will do it. It's got the little sheep and it says "Wake up."
Yeah. Yep.
So there's all sorts of designs, and for you, this might be a good one for you. When you go and you're buying, so say you're just getting into it, you're trying to learn the ins and outs and things. When you go to buy, if this right here, what is silver right now? $23 an ounce.
Something like that.
So if you go
I don't track
into
it that close.
if you go into like a coin shop and you see a 1 ounce little crude bar like this and they're selling it for 24.50, but then you take and you see like this one here that's got the "Don't Tread on Me" and they want $30 for it, you would
I'm gonna
go
buy
with,
that.
because it's
Yeah.
1 ounce. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
To
see it a
me,
lot that people.
you're after the actual silver value. Um, so kind of my scheme of things, the way I try to look at stuff, my grandma always told me don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Mhm,
So if you look at, there's definitely a place for cash in the world because that's what everything runs on. Even now that they're talking about all the other stuff, cash still runs the world. So you need to have, what do they say, 3 months in your savings account to run your house in case you fall ill or lose your job or whatever. Um, that's a bare minimum, honestly, and I don't even have that. But to me, to be safe, you're going to want 6 months. You know, I've been out of work for 6 months at a time before due to the illness. So I, of all people, know you could be out for 6 months. Um, then to me, the next step is your silvers and your gold, uh, stuff like that. So you want to
mhm,
buy it as cheap as possible. You want to buy generic stuff. You want to buy 10-ounce bars of silver because normally the higher the number of ounces, the cheaper you get it per ounce.
mhm,
Um, I don't think you should go over 10-ounce bars though, as far as size. 10-ounce bars are super liquid. You can sell them easy. But when you start crossing over that $250 to $300 mark, um, the average person doesn't have that kind of cash to be able to buy it from you. Now you got to find the people that have got money they don't know what to do with. Um, but so I've got a stack of 10-ounce bars. I think I've got 11 of them, and that's my emergency money. So if something happens and I know I need money or I need to buy something and don't have the money or whatever, that's the first thing to go out of my stack. But I would say you need 3 to 6 months worth of gold and silver as cheap as you could possibly buy it, you know, in hand, locked up in a safe or something, just as that backup security. If a bank falls, you still have money, because the other banks that closed, the FDIC didn't give them their money that was in the
mhm,
savings accounts, stuff like that. Or if you're out of work, you start coming up on that 4 or 5 month mark, and it's going to be a couple more months. Well, you may want to start selling off some of your gold and silver, getting
yep,
that in place to continue to be able to live the lifestyle that you live. Once you have that set up, in my opinion, it's time to go to fun stuff.
mhm,
Is the way I look at it. So shipwreck series of coins, whatever. Start collecting series. Start collecting the ones with elephants on them. Whatever makes you happy. Enjoy it. Because if not, you get bored. If you're just
yep,
buying up all generic, it gets kind of boring, and that's you want to stay interested in it. So that stuff, it has its silver value, even though you paid way too much for it. It's still got its silver value. And if the world runs like it's supposed to, and later you want to sell it, or you pass it down to your kids and they want to sell it, nobody else has it. It's got a limited mintage. It's got a theme, so it's worth more money. So you can sell it for what you got it for, or sometimes twice what you bought it for, just
mhm,
depending upon the market at the time. Um, a lot of people do silver eagles and gold eagles and to me, I just don't see that unless you're going to get it graded. Like I buy one Silver Eagle every year, graded MS70, which is perfect grade for coin grades, just so I can put it in the stack. Because later in the years, 20, 30 years from now, if somebody's trying to complete their stack or whatever, it's super valuable to them. You can get some good money because people like to collect series and stuff. Um,
That's smart.
but to be buying all Silver Eagles just because they're the most recognized coin in the world doesn't make sense to me because you're you're still paying a super high premium for it,
Hmm.
and you can get that generic stuff and it's worth the same thing, it just doesn't make sense to me. So I try to collect either what I like and enjoy or generic and kind of go from there.
Right.
So
Right.
yes, off
And
grid master, inflation proof, and it has always been inflation proof until here recently.
oh yeah.
Inflation has jumped so fast it can't keep up.
Yep.
Will the numbers catch up? It may. It very well may. I don't know, but yeah, it's always been kind of the inflation-proof way to save money, and that's what I look at most of my silver is and gold is just you know,
Yep.
saving money. It's a different savings account, and with that, that's why I've gotten into some of the crypto and crypto mining. If it can make me 50 cent a day in some type of crypto, why not? Because
Yeah.
you can't ever tell what it's going to do. And it's taking money out of my pocket for the rig to set up the rig and the electric each day or whatever. But I mean, if your electric bill jumps up $20 a month, nobody's going to have that big of a fit over that. So, in the long scheme of things, to you it looks like you're making $1.50 a day, but actually you're only making 50. You're paying the rest out in electricity. You
Hmm.
know, so it's some give and take there. But I mean, I don't like taking my money and buying it. I'd rather keep my money where it's at so I can use it,
Yep.
easier.
Completely agree. And that goes into this. Let me see if I can turn my light off because it'll probably show up better. That is that whole
Silverback.
dragon for the silverback. And I have had so many people sit there and say when it comes to silverbacks, they're not worth they're 1/1000th of an ounce of silver. Why would you get one of those? And I'm like, well, one, it's a limited edition series. Somebody may somewhere along the line go, hey, I need one. But two, it's get what you like. It's got a dragon
Yeah,
on it. I think it's cool.
yeah, that's right. And there's a place for the silverbacks and goldbacks. They're starting to become real popular. Some of the states have adopted them as currency, so you can actually go in some places and buy stuff with them.
Mhm.
Um, and down in the comments they're talking about for the sake, stick with the silver and gold for the sake of having it. It's not always fun, but for me, it's the same as rice, beans, and band aids. So that's kind of the prepping side, and I agree with that. But there comes a point that you've prepped enough, and maybe you need to spend that money somewhere else, or start purchasing more stuff that you enjoy more, and still running along the same lines. Is kind of
Mhm.
what I was saying. You know, um, I mean, as far as being prepared, I'd say there's been times 30 days, a week is all you had to worry about, but it's getting up to 6 months to a year that you need to be prepared for at this point. Just
Mhm.
the way things are going, just to make sure you can keep your family safe and taken care of in case something bad does happen. Because our power grid's not where it should be, and anybody could easily put pretty much the whole United States out of power for a couple of years, before they could get it put back up.
And that Texas makes a good point. I can only handle silver as gold's a little high priced, and yeah, and it's one of those ones. when you get into this, there's a lot of people, and you can probably speak better on this. If you're just getting into it, everybody recognizes gold, and then you go look, and you're like, well, wait a second, a 1 ounce gold coin's $2,300. I can't afford that, and it shies them away. But you
Yeah.
can buy 1 gram of silver.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, there's like a certain amount of money I want to put forward a month. So
Hmm.
the price fluctuation doesn't change how much I spend, it changes how much I get each month.
Hmm.
Some people are about getting it at the cheapest value when the spot price is low. When it goes up, they sell it. To each their own. Everybody has their own way of doing it. But I understand that you can't purchase gold. Um, if you're going to purchase gold, I'd say you want to go 10th ounce, quarter ounce, or 1 ounce. If you're going lower than a tenth of an ounce, you're paying such a premium that you're paying, like if you buy it a gram at a time or something like that, by the time you get to an ounce, you've already bought another half ounce of gold, you
Hmm.
know. So the smaller it is, the more of a premium. But you can also buy silver until you get to the gold amount and then take the silver and trade it in for gold.
Yep.
So that's always another option as well. Um, and yeah, I've got lead, copper, brass. I pour lead into ingots for people and stuff, and things like that. But it's always just working towards what you want to be, where you want to be, and what makes you feel comfortable, and figuring out how to get there. Um, there's a lot of people in the silver and gold community on YouTube that'll tell you they purchase silver until they get to the point of gold, and there's something called a silver to gold ratio. So you can go to a dealer, and whatever that ratio is, how many ounces of silver it is to 1 ounce of gold. Well, some people just trade back and forth. So
Hmm.
when the silver to gold ratio gets high, they'll trade one way. When it gets low, they trade it all back the other way. When it gets high, they'll trade it back again. So they're slowly making money for free, basically.
Hmm.
But that is a long term, thing. You're not going to do that 4 or 5 times in a year. It's going to be like once every 5 or 6 years that ratio changes enough that you can actually trade it in and make it worthwhile.
Yep.
And
And,
you got
and
to
that
have
goes
somewhere to store all of it.
and that goes with it too. If you're low on budget, you're low on space, you can start out with something cheap like copper or a single gram of silver. Buy it little chunks at a time. Wait until that starts going up, and then take it in and trade it in. Go get a 1 ounce.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I started showing scrapping originally on the Silver Scorpion channel, and then I made a channel for itself. Is I didn't really have the money, 5 or 6 years ago to buy silver or gold or any of that. So I was doing a whole lot of hauling scrap metal in and taking that money to buy silver and gold. So
Mhm.
I was, sitting around watching TV, stripping wire or whatever with the family, making that extra money on the side and using that to buy my precious metals because I couldn't afford it out of my budget. Um, those pesos. So I don't know a lot about those pesos. Um, I'm more of a 3 9 fine silver gold type of person. It is what it is. If you like it and you want to get it, go for it. Check. Just look at your look at what you're paying.
Mhm.
Is my biggest thing. If it's somewhere close to what spot price is, then go for it. If it's more than $200 or $300 over, for gold, you don't want to pay that much of a premium. But there's a lot of people that do get those pesos, and then you got Libertads and all this other stuff, and that stuff doesn't mean anything to me. It's either I'm stacking for weight as cheap as I can, or I'm buying what I like. This series, as Alien series, Shipwreck series, Gun series, whatever. Whatever they make that I like and enjoy. Um, and that's just how I do it. Because I know if things go bad, it's still worth what it is in silver. If things go good, then it's worth more. So to me, it's not really it's not a problem either way to me. I guess I'm still stacking weight, and I'm stacking it in what I like, I'm paying a premium for it. But either way, I'm still in a win situation. Is kind of how I see it.
Hmm. So I actually had, because I see we're getting close to our kind of 1 hour. If we run over, that's fine on this one. So while people are just starting out, so as of right now, and maybe after an SHTF situation, how can somebody tell if something's real or fake?
So the easiest ways, one would be an acid test, but you'd have to have that stuff on hand.
Hmm.
Normally, the tone of a coin will tell you what it is. If you pick up, and these aren't silver, but they were cool. I picked them up at a yard sale or something. But if you take a coin and balance it, see if I can figure the camera out, balance it on your finger and tap it with another one, you get a tone. Well, that tone's not lasting very long, so it's not silver. That's your first giveaway. And silver has its own tone. So as you've done it for a little while, you learn what that tone is, and you'll actually know if it's 40%, 90%, or if it's pure, or if it's something completely different. They do have something called a ping tester, a little plastic, like two rods with it's connected in the center, and it's got two little rubber things, and you can hold your coins and ping them with it. And there's an app on your phone that'll tell you too. But I mean, in a bad situation, your phone probably won't work. But still, it's one way to get into it and start learning. Your tones will really tell you. Um, yeah. So scrap and Scorpion channel. I do a weekly update on scrap prices. It's normally pretty short. Just run through the major ones. And your shred price is 200 and something. It's up right now. It really is. And something that I thought was neat, my last one, and still haven't figured out why this has happened, but the aluminum price has recently made a huge jump. In a
Hmm.
week, it went to almost three times its normal.
Wow.
So normally and I watch the national too. So sometimes the national will tell you before your local does. Um, so I watch the national price, and normally nationally, aluminum's running at 44 cents a pound. It was like $1.20 a pound last week.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was shocked. I was like, "What? I've never seen it that high." Um, so it may be the wars. Um, I know like a year ago, there's supposedly a aluminum factory in the U.S. that shut down or had to shut
Mhm.
down for 6 months or something. That may just now be getting into the economy, and finally they've gotten started getting low because of that shutdown. It may just finally be reaching us. I don't know, but that was a big jump, and really made me sad that I turned all my aluminum in.
That's the way it works, isn't it? Oh, that's good stuff. Well, and if we're going to go on scrapping, if somebody wants to get into scrapping, what's some recommendations on just getting started?
Just start and just grab up anybody's trash and take it apart. I mean, basically that's what you're doing. You've got to be kind of careful because you can't have it sitting around your yard. Some places get upset about that. So you only really want what you can kind of keep in your basement or your shop. But just start learning the metals. What's what? How to tell the difference. There's a lot of scrapping channels out here that'll tell you anything you need to know. Um, how to break stuff down, what's got what in it. If you have questions, you can ask in the comments. Most of us will answer you back. Um, I'll make you a silver megalodon tooth if you want, but you're gonna have to pay in advance. That's a whole lot of silver. um, so I mean, a lot of us that scrap, we turn in our stuff as we go, except for our copper. A lot of us like to hold on to the copper for the year and then turn it all in at once. Um, there's pros and cons because the all your metals prices fluctuate. They go up and down. So if it comes towards the end of the year and copper price is down, you may want to hold on to it a little bit longer. But then again, you may be out of room and you need to get rid of it. Um, but copper adds up really fast. But it's learning the different grades and which one is which, and it took me probably about a year, year and a half to really get a good grasp on, what's what falls into what category. And we make videos on it sometimes just to try to help people out. This is number one copper, this is very bright, this is, number two copper, and that kind of thing. But if you hold copper for a year and then cash it in, you can get a pretty good chunk of change when you cash that in, and that's a great way to buy you some gold then.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know. It's to each their own. There's other tricks with scrapping too. Normally, if you have, my mind's running blank on me. I think it's 100 pounds. Normally, if you have over 100 pounds of any type of metal that you're cashing in, they bump up what they pay you per pound. It may be a penny, it may be 5 pennies. It just depends on what it is. But that's a little way to get a little extra value out of what you're cashing in. If you've got the space to save up, then save it up and take it in, that way. Any recommendations on purchasing coins online from a company?
Oof.
So you've got your big bullion dealers,
Hmm.
and when you're worried about paying a premium, it changes what you can and can't do. So that all kind of depends on the individual. Um, on my Silver Scorpion channel, I have a link in the description to, I think it's Metal. I don't know, it's one of them. Um, but they reached out to me and asked if I'd, you know, post that link for them or whatever in my videos and stuff. So I did. Um, and it's the same one I use to do my checks every week too. It's the same website. But a lot of those websites, if you buy over a certain amount, they ship it for free. If you're
Hmm.
just buying an ounce at a time and you got to pay $5 for shipping, well, now that 1 ounce costs you a lot more. So it's a little bit of a, give and take there of what you want to do. If you want to save up and buy enough that you don't have to pay shipping, or if you're willing to pay that $5 or $6 premium for shipping for 1 or 2 ounces, you know. Um, a lot of pawn shops have gold and silver coins. A lot of people buy jewelry. Some
Hmm.
people, I've had people send it to me to melt into a bar for them or whatever. Then you can sell your gems and stuff out of it too. There's just a whole lot of different options and ways to go about it. So uh, the website that I use weekly when I do my sales updates, they come out normally every Monday when my job doesn't get in the way and I'm able to send them out. Um, it's just kind of a quick price check. What have metals done in the last week? Have they gone up or down? Has it been anything drastic? And that website has all kinds of other I guess links on there that can help you if you go down into their and actually start looking through that page and their drop down boxes. It's more than just metals. It's IRAs and all kinds of other things that can help you too. So um, I think it's Money Metals Exchange. I believe is what it is. Um, so I kind of like them, and they're pretty much as good as any to buy stuff from. Um, if you have issues or problems, you call them and tell them what it is, and they'll tell you mail it back to them. They'll send you a new one that's not defective or broken or chipped or something like that. But a lot of people search all of the different places that sell to see who's the cheapest before they buy. So that's something you can do too. Sometimes one of them's $1 an ounce cheaper than another. You know, old speaker magnets. It's just a magnet. Um, I don't pull speaker magnets. My favorite magnets to use are the ones out of a magnetron and a microwave.
Ooh.
Um, but if you are a scrapper, a magnet is your best friend because it gives you the quickest uh, identifiable way to tell which metal is which. It doesn't tell you all of them, but it gives you most, you know, But yeah, magnet's the best friend. That keeps one stuck on the inside of the bed of my truck, and one in the inside of the bed of the trailer, and they come in handy quite often. But yeah, magnetron magnets are my favorite. They're just the right size and that kind of thing. A lot of times when you pull the speaker magnets, you end up busting them.
Hmm.
That's
Didn't
what
know
else we
that one. No, I am not doing a coin auction.
got. Yeah, I don't do a lot of live stuff because it's tough for me to keep up with what's happening here and what's happening over here in the chat. A lot of people are masters at it, and they do all kinds of coin auctions and stuff all the time. And a lot of times you're paying extra, but you're
Mhm.
also paying for the entertainment too. So
Yep. Yep.
it's a give and take.
Which, if anybody's just joining, this is one of the things that I got, the dragon egg with the coin there. But I also jumped in at Christmas time and played the little Santa race game that you had.
Yeah,
I forget what.
yeah. So now that we have moved, I don't know that we'll be doing as much of that stuff because, well, my internet here is not that great. But in the next 6 months to a year, it should be picking up, getting a lot better. They're beta testing some new stuff with the internet that I have, so there's a good chance there's going to be a huge jump. Um, but I'm shooting a satellite from the top of a tree to the top of a mountain. That's how I'm getting my internet right now. They are installing cable out next to the road right now. So I may be switching to that, but they said that's still 6 months to a year out. So it just depends. I get that up and going. I hope I can get a 360 camera up and running where I'm working, so people can join in and watch anytime they want. Because like I said, most of the time I'm up most of the night, working on stuff. So when people can't sleep, it gives them something to watch.
Oh, you're a scrapper. Go give them some of the wire.
Right? Yeah. Uh, yeah. It takes forever for them to install it. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. That it does. Which I scrapped for a little while, and it's tough. There's people that watch it. It's become mainstream, kind of like homesteading and all the other stuff. And people think that you buy a pair of gloves and you just go root around and you get rich. And I'm going, there's a lot more. There's a difference between dirty wire and clean wire, and what you said, number one, number two. Like, there's a lot that goes into this.
Yeah. And one of the things that I'm hoping to do, and it's actually a YouTuber in Canada. Me and him are talking together. We're hoping to start a business um, doing a whole lot of this stuff and a whole lot of the e-waste, like your computers and cell phones and stuff like that. Um, but if we get that up and running, it's not going to be, screwdrivers taking all the screws out and that kind of
Mhm.
thing. It's a $250 machine, $250,000 machine that I can toss it in and it comes out in particles at the bottom, already separated out. I can melt that bar and send it over to a refiner. They can RXS scan it and cut me a check and send it back. But there's a whole lot of our electronics and other things that are in landfills. I think it's like 10 years worth of gold left in the ground or something like that's what they're saying, or 10 years of silver or something. But when we run out, the amount that we use each year increases. And when we run out, then they're going to have to go back and do what's called rural mining or something like that. I can't remember the exact term for it, but they'll have to start digging landfills up to get it
Mhm.
back. So I'm trying to head that off because I know it's not going to be long. We're going to be in a bad situation. Um,
Mhm.
and I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons for stacking these metals too is when we run out, what's the price going to go to for it?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. And everybody that's talking, no road trips to Rural's house. So let me see on some of these other ones. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, here's one that one of the people asked me. So they want to know, is there any metals that would be maybe something to steer away from?
um, I'd say for the average person, you want to steer away from lead and pewter. Pewter
Okay.
has a pretty high lead content in it. Um, a little here and there is not a big deal, but if you start dealing with a lot of it and don't have the appropriate gear, you're going to end up with lead in your system and you're going to have some problems.
Hmm.
Um, mercury is another one. I don't even know if that falls into a metal category, but mercury is something else. You can find that in some of your electronics, some of your um, thermostats. Old thermostats had
Hmm.
little lead things in them, or not lead, mercury switches in them and stuff like that. You don't really want to get all in that. It's fun to play with, but you need to have gloves on, and you don't want it absorbed in your skin because the Mad Hatter disease from the top hats is because they used to cure those hats with mercury, and it would soak into people's. That's why they
Hmm.
would lose their minds. So that's something I learned from scrapping. It was kind of neat to hear that. But other than that, most of your metals are safe. You know, the average metals that you run into scrapping things is they're not really harmful. Um, lead, as long as you got gloves on, you're good. But if you start melting it, you can't breathe the vapors in because they'll mess you up. Um, so you've got to have precautions on that, whether you're wearing a respirator or you've got a fan blowing it away. The times I've melted it, I've done outside, and I've always made sure I was upwind or downwind, so it wasn't blowing in my face and that kind of thing. Um, it just takes time, things to play with. Let's see, what is it called? So I was telling y'all about magnetrons and microwaves. Um, so a lot of people are scared of them because that's what actually makes your radiation to cook your food in the microwave. Um, the new ones don't have, is it beryllium? I think. Anyway, there's like a ring around one of the sides that's normally pink or something like that. And the old ones, it was something in that if you scratched it, it would get in the air and it would cause you some issues. um, the easiest thing to do with something like that is just stay away from it. Pull your magnets, pull your aluminum. Don't scratch that little ring that's on there. Toss the rest into your shred. But a lot of people want to cut them open, so they'll wrap them with tape or whatever because there's a chunk of copper inside of it, and they want to get that out for number two copper. It adds up. But the other things with scrapping too is you have to decide: are you going after the big money makers and tossing the rest in shred, or are you going for every dime and nickel you can make because you're doing it with your time and you're watching TV while you're doing it anyway, or you know what I'm saying? So that's different things on the scrapping channel we run into. It's like, well, that's not worth your time, and it just depends on the person. Everybody scraps differently than everybody else, and we all learn from one another. And it just kind of depends on the person as to what they want to go after. They may go after this even though it's not worth their time because it's fun to them to do it.
Which I see JS Genesis lure, or the fishing lure. So you had smelters and molds, all of lead, no mask, no gloves. But that's our age. I remember in school they're like, "Here, kids, here's a whole bunch of mercury to play with."
Yep. Yep.
That's awesome. And then when one of the subscribers asked me, so that way I could ask you, I didn't know, and I'm sitting here going, the only thing that I can think of would be maybe like tungsten, because isn't that like you can only melt it, you can't cut tungsten?
Tungsten is a pretty hard metal. And they've got stuff that can cut it now, but yeah, you're not going to run into much tungsten unless like you're scrapping a space shuttle or something like that. It's pretty rare to run into scrapping stuff. Um, but yeah, I don't think it's going to hurt you if you run into it. You probably end up throwing it in the shred pile anyway. I don't know. Is tungsten magnetic?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so it may end up in an aluminum bin, and then you just threw a valuable metal into the aluminum bin. So
That's awesome. Yeah. See, and that's I get some of these questions. I try and do my research. I look it up. I do some things. I give my opinion, and then some people they come out and they're like, "Hey, this." I'm like, I have no clue, and that's where I get
Yeah,
to do this. I love to network, and so when I get that, hey, I have a precious metals, sort of thing, or I have a scrapping thing, or I can go see my buddy. He'll answer your question.
yeah. And that's the biggest reason why I'm on YouTube and doing all this is just to help people, make friends, help people. You know, I become rich one day because of it. Great. If I don't, I don't care. You know, um, I'm about helping people anyway. You know, she's they're asking about TVs and stereos. Um, so your old TVs, and this has become an issue for a lot of scrappers. Your old tube TVs. Nobody wants to take that glass anymore. Um, so a lot of people won't take those to scrap, even though there's some halfway decent components in there, because they have to pay $10 or $20 a piece for the trash yard to take that tube from them. So they won't even touch them. But there's most of your electronics. There's transformers in them. You know, you can take all the copper out the transformer if you want, or sell it as a transformer. There's IC chips, and that's coming out on my scrapping channel. The last couple of videos and the next couple are just identifying components, so you know what they are and what category they go in and where to sell them. There's a lot of refiners. You can collect IC chips and sell them to a refiner. There's a lot of refiners on YouTube that show doing that stuff. So you can send it to them. Some of them pay you for them, and some of them keep a certain percentage of the gold or silver that they get out of it and send you the rest of it back. It just depends. So I mean, it's another way to get gold and silver and not have to spend money, but time is money too. So
Mhm.
you have to it's all a matter of weighing your options and seeing what suits you the best. Um, but yeah, I mean, your electronics. There's TVs, stereos, computers, all that stuff. Pretty much anything that's got any type of electronic in it. There's going to be some type of transformer in there. There's going to be some IC chips, different things like that. You can actually sell those boards to some scrap yards. Some scrap yards take them. Some of them it goes into the shred pile, which is your cheapest. But some of them have categories for them, and they pay you a little bit more according to what it is. Um, a lot of my stuff goes to board sort up in Ohio. I either ship it to them or drive it to them. If I've got a full load of stuff, I'll drive up there for a couple $1,000s worth of stuff. If it's RAM and stuff like that, like RAM's like $22 a pound. The sticks of RAM out of computers. Um, your processors, there's different categories for those. Your I series processors, they'll actually test them, and certain ones are worth a certain amount. It may be $1 a piece. One of them's worth like $150 each.
Hmm.
It just depends. I think they resell them if they test them and they work. They resell them. So just it's learning. That's all it is. It's learning. And I've done a lot of learning and on this stuff. It just interests me, and I like to see what other people's trash I can collect and turn it into a treasure for me. Because like I said, I used to just turn it into silver. I'd haul a couple loads and buy a 10-ounce bar of silver or two 10-ounce bars of silver, and then I'd haul a few more loads. Um, Scrap prices have come way down since then, because that was probably about 3 or 4 years ago. But it looks like they're back up a little bit right now. I used to be able to haul a dump trailer a shred and make $250. Um, Now 125. But they've bumped back up a little bit. So it all depends on how much you stack in there too. I used to tear stuff down and flatten it all out, and I'd stack it in there like a bookcase, so I could haul a bunch of weight. Now I just tend to just toss it over in there and just keep going until it gets full.
Nice, nice. Well, I know you are a busy man. I'm going to ask you another question, and anybody that is has questions or whatever, start typing it now, so that way we can answer them real quick before we do everything. But my last question, while we wait for them, is going to be whatever you want to pick, whether it's scrapping, precious metals, prepping, whatever. If you had one piece of advice to give to somebody that's just starting out into anything, what would you tell them?
Probably my biggest thing, if I was gonna direct anything to anybody, would be, you need to make sure you're prepared, you're safe. Whatever that is to you, and however much it needs to be, that's something that you have to decide. But this day and age, everything runs off of electricity, and like I said earlier, that could easily be taken from us. None of your electronics work anymore. Even the schools, they don't even give kids books anymore. They want them to pull the books up online. They give them laptops, stuff like that. So the change that would happen would be so drastic that most people couldn't make that change.
Hmm.
And you need to make sure that you're set up for that, because I mean, even if we get and it all depends on where you live. It could be an earthquake, it could be a hurricane, it could just be a snowstorm. I mean, a tornado, you don't know. You may be a week or two without power, and you need to make sure that you can survive, those couple weeks, and you're prepared for that. And that's more what the term prepping is to me, is being prepared for any disaster that's thrown at you, whether it's a storm or the whole world shuts down. You just need to be ready. You need to be able to take care of your kids, take care of your family, and stuff like that. Do you 3D print in those coin measuring devices? Coin measuring.
The ping.
Oh, I don't 3D print those. No, I'm pretty sure they're patented. There's a whole lot of the coin community that have links in their bios and stuff for that, because they make 20 cents off each one that's sold or something like that. So they push that out there a lot. I don't have one. I tend to buy my silver from the reputable, places, so I don't have to worry about it. But I did recently hear that one of those was selling stuff they shouldn't have been selling too.
Oof,
So
oof, oof.
yeah. Um,
I'm sitting here reading all the comments.
yeah, I like that. Get to know the author of the Bible. That's
Hmm.
right.
Hmm.
That's
Yep,
definitely
yep,
right.
yep. Absolutely. Which he's another one. I'm gonna have to get Mr. JS Genesis designs. I think he's a little shy, but he needs to come on here. So, well, I tell you what, we've gone for where we at about an hour
There you go.
20 ish.
Yeah,
So,
pocket finger. That's what it's called. It's something, and they're cheap. It's one of the first easiest ways to test your silver or gold, and it's it beats the alternative of getting one of those analytic machines or whatever that are like $500-600 to test your metals with.
and see that one right there, the Perth Mint got busted. That's always the
Yeah,
chance. It doesn't matter how big or small. You've got to be careful with what you're going on. So, clap
exactly.
for precious metals.
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent. So I'm going to round it out. I'll tell you what, go ahead and let everybody know exactly where they can find you after the end of this. I will go find all your links and pin them to the comments section. But
Oh wow. Let's see if I can remember them all. You've got Scorpion Metals on YouTube. You've got Scorpion Metals on Facebook. Uh, you've got Silver Scorpion on YouTube. You've got Scrap and Scorpion on YouTube. You have, it's actually Silver Scorpion, but it's SIL.VER Scorpion on Instagram. Scorpion Metals on TikTok, and I feel like I'm leaving one of them out. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's something I'm leaving out.
I was watching somebody else that had a ton of channels, and they said that they had that same problem. So they actually made a little board so that way when he was like, "So tell everybody where you can find," and the guy just like slowly was like, "Here."
Yeah, I think that's it. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. Um, yeah, yeah. And if you go to YouTube and type in Silver Scorpion, I assume it's still this way. My channel pops right up. I mean,
Mhm.
top.
Mhm.
Because I've been around a while. I don't may not have a lot of subs, but I've been around a while. I'm pretty well known in the coin community and stuff like that. Because they're pretty nasty about who they trust and who they don't trust with when it comes to their metals and stuff. So, um, you know, I'm trusted over there. And like I said, if I can make anything for you, let me know. I've got friends in the van life, metal detecting, cards, uh, playing cards. I'm all over the place. I've made friends all over the place.
That's what it is. It's all about networking, and I'm going to hold that to it. So, Offgrid Master, he's waiting for your payment first. So, and then yeah, with JS, I'll send you his email here in a little bit.
Okay.
Good deal. All right. So I appreciate your time, and thank you everybody for spending a little bit of time with us. If you guys catch us on the replay, thank you again. And with that, we're going to say goodbye to everybody and have a good night.
Have a good one.
And